Hi, I'm Laura, and we're talking about the exciting career of construction managers.
Hi, I'm Laura Alexander, and I'm a construction project manager. There are already 900,000 women in the construction industry, and 1/3 are construction managers. Women also compete for contracts owning general contracting and subcontracting businesses. Respectively, for every 200 workers in the U.S., 26 males and 3 females work in the construction industry, of which 1 out of 3 female construction industry workers either specialize in construction management, engineering, or becomes a tradeswoman. Women enter this industry because they enjoy the engineering aspect, and some enjoy project management. The pay is often more than twice as much as office jobs, which means that the more women get paid, the more women are investing in real estate, buying American products, and moving their family household from low to middle and upper class.
In American households, 1 out of 4 mothers is a single parent, and 4 out of 10 times in families, the female is the primary breadwinner. Did you know that there's 13 million single moms in the United States, and half don't receive any financial support from the fathers? The other half that do, they receive an average of $4,800 a year, while child care soars between $7,000 to $12,000 per child per year. Women just can't afford those $50,000 a year desk jobs anymore, so they are turning to blue-collar jobs that pay twice as much. Often when men turn to blue-collar jobs, it's because they have to. But when women turn to blue-collar jobs, it's because they love it. The great thing about being in construction is that it does have a lot of different elements. My career has taken me all over the United States. I've built gyms, remodeled hotels, built schools, lower level, universities, and I've worked on a military base. All of my projects are unique and complex. One of my favorites was working on a military base. I had tanks driving past my office every day. A large portion of my job is contract compliance and contract negotiation. You have to know a little bit about everything. Everything from civil to plumbing, electrical, mechanical, fire sprinkler, low voltage, fire alarm, the gamut. A major component of a successful construction project manager is being able to communicate effectively and thoroughly. Construction project management is rarely a dull job. Egos is the #1 reason why contractors get in trouble legally with subcontractors. One of the keys to success is ensuring that everything is in writing.
Most men I've worked with really like the difference of working with a female construction professional. What I've been told by my subcontractors is that I make them feel like their voice matters and that they have value. They say that the male construction managers bark orders and don't want to listen, so workers stop caring about preventing problems that could have been prevented. I've witnessed that most often from senior supervisors who failed to purchase necessary materials for their crew, but demanded the crew get the work done. There's a lot of pre-planning in construction where every step is preceded with a process. When you hand off a task to someone, you can't assume that they took action in a timely manner. A person, regardless of gender, who is proactive rather than reactive, handles these issues well. Where women have an advantage is that they are more thorough in communication, and where disputes arise in construction, it is more likely that projects properly managed by a female will succeed in court more often than a project properly managed by a male. Female construction managers are also more knowledgeable of their projects because while males in the same position are often awarded with secretaries and assistants to perform more than half of their described duties, females are required to self-perform all of their duties, making them more knowledgeable and aware of the details that really matter, especially in a dispute.
One of the reoccurring problems that women still face in 2018 is that some males approach women and tell them they don't belong in male-dominated jobs.
Women do belong in construction, and they contribute the same quality of work as men with equal training. It's not women that need to change or adapt to the work environment. It's that companies need to foster a culture of inclusiveness, helping to create clear paths for advancement and enforcing a zero-tolerance policy for incivility and undermining. It's really not about finger-pointing. It's about having the best management practices that work for everybody. It feels like women love to see other women breach the barriers, but some are angry shortly after because it wasn't them. Women need to find their balance and understand how necessary it is for women to earn at least $70,000 a year. They are not going to achieve that in most female-dominated roles. A plumber or electrician can earn $90,000 a year. Women need that kind of wage to support the needs of their children.
Now let's talk about myths. Number 1, all construction requires digging holes and lifting hundreds of pounds. Hand digging holes is limited to trenches that are limited in length and as deep as 18 inches to 36 inches deep. Myth number 2, blue-collar workers are less respected than white-collar workers. Journeyman-level tradesmen usually earn about $90,000 a year, especially if they're union. Many construction managers earn about $150,000 a year, depending on where they're working. Many blue-collar workers switch from a white-collar job to a blue-collar job. Why? Because of the paycheck. Myth number 5, women can't be in the blue-collar trades because they can't lift the materials, they can't operate the tools, and they can't operate the machinery. Well, they're wrong. Tool manufacturers created lighter weight tools to cause less stress on bones and muscles. Many manufacturers have turned to creative engineers that have designed carts and other lifting apparatuses to help people in the field lift material. Women hold the same certifications as men in earth-moving equipment, such as bulldozers and backhoes. When you see pictures of people wearing tool belts loaded with tools, oftentimes what you're seeing is someone walking from their vehicle into the job site. More often, when they reach the site where they're actually going to be working, they take those off and they lay on the floor while they take the tool they need up the ladder. Workers stubborn about wearing a tool belt that's overloaded with tools have received many warnings in their career not to do such because it deteriorates their back. It's also dangerous when they bend over, so it can cause them to fall off of a ladder. So if your concern is that you can't carry the tool belt all day long, then don't worry about that. Myth number 6, women can't figure out blueprints and specifications. Again, wrong. Female construction professionals learn their trade from the same sources men have. Whether that's formal education in a school or on-the-job training, both have the same skills. Myth number 7, men can only lead men. Well, now this is a big one because there's actually 2 parts to this. The first part is 19 out of 20 men do actually take instruction from a female. Most men in that group do prefer working with a female because females listen to the concerns that they have. The advantage of listening to workers in the field is that they're bringing problems to you that they feel can be prevented. And when you listen to them, you're able to create workarounds in real time. 19 out of 20 workers are compliant with working with females. But let's talk about the 1 out of 20 that doesn't. 51 years has passed since a federal law was established that allowed equal rights for women in the workplace. Men that have disregarded that law have disregarded it for their entire career. The EEOC received 700,000 calls in 2017 in regards to harassment. 70% of the people don't even report. Now, when you look at the fact that 700,000 people called, you have to also look at very few people call the EEOC. That means that harassment itself is at a much higher volume than we can imagine. 100% of victims of harassment of both genders endure harassment for weeks or months. 70% never report the adverse situations, and the remaining 30% do report the problems. Okay, now we're going to talk about harassment. I'm going to try to make this as easy as possible. The 70-30 rule. 30% of people in the workplace that are harassed actually go to their supervisors and managers and report the problem. 50% of the people that report to managers and supervisors actually get reprimanded or fired. That discourages the 70% of people that have problems, that decide not to report for the sake of losing their jobs. A very small fraction of people call the EEOC. In fact, in 2017, 700,000 calls were placed to the EEOC in regards to workplace harassment. Now, there's 125 million people in the workforce of the United States. So you can see that's a very small amount of people that are reporting, which actually is 0.56%. Less than 1% of people actually call the EEOC. Now, if we only use the 700,000 phone calls as an example, and you said that that was 30%, then that would mean that there were actually 2,333,333 incidences of harassment in the workplace. If we use the 2.3 million people as an example of how many people are actually harassed in the workplace, that example is only a fraction of reality because very few people actually call the EEOC. Harassers are defined as people that intimidate others and are hostile or do annoying things to harass someone else. Look around your own office and see what your ratio is. In my own experience, it's either 1 in 20 or 1 in 10 in each office. Harassment is also defined as something that interferes with the performance of a job. Although this is considered very subtle, it's also a form of harassment because it does actually interfere with the performance of the leader. A workplace's toughest job is getting people to get along with each other. The best thing that a workplace can do is make the rules and the consequences the same for everybody. How I've dealt with some of these situations as a leader is that I have printed out or attached to an email the copies of the EEOC or federal posters and ask certain workers to sign them and prove that they've received the training in regards to harassment. Even if a worker doesn't change their behavior, there's a mutual acknowledgement that this law does extend to them as well. Most people that are seeking satisfaction from a harasser, all they're looking for is for that person to be spoken to or be written up or to be moved to a different area away from the victim. When the problem is the owner of the company, the problem is not going to go away. That's when you have to decide whether your enjoyment of daily life and your mental health is of value to you. In my case, I found that the disruption was unfounded, and I chose to leave over having to get used to being treated poorly on a regular basis. Someone that has developed habits of bullying their household or bullying their friends could easily come into the work environment and do the same. I wouldn't rely on that because there are a lot of people that are very respectful in their home environment, but when they come to work, they have a totally different attitude. Yes, architect errors aren't frequent, but they can happen on every project. There are intentional errors in design judgment for cosmetic reasons. There are structural components that may be eliminated, or the size is reduced to make way for a visual aspect. Engineers get frustrated at architects regularly over this sort of issue because ultimately the structural integrity of the building is compromised according to their calculations. A building in Salem, Oregon capsized because of an undersized column in a new building located in the underground parking area. Unfortunately, the project failure was misrepresented over the years to keep smaller contractors out of the business of government contracting, whereas the true contractor was a major shortlist contractor. Shortlist contractor is provided the opportunity to build government projects that were withheld from the general population, whereas non-shortlist contractors do not get the chance. Shortlist contractors acquire the most construction contracts, allowing them to grow at a rate faster than non-shortlist contractors. It can prevent women from being hired, causing unemployed female construction professionals and stagnant construction project lists. It can prevent women from growing their resumes. It can stunt their ability to acquire experience that could promote their careers. It can end their careers. It can ultimately leave them unemployed. Most of the comments I've received are they like working with me because I really listen to their ideas. I give them useful feedback either way. They feel like they matter to the project, and I don't blow up at them. I work with them to help them find solutions. But sometimes I do get men who treat me like they treat other women in their lives, with a total disregard to my seniority level.